Hi dear students, welcome to Gita's classes. So you have written DM exam today. So let us see the solutions of the questions one by one. Okay. So first question is about PCNF. Obtain the principal conjunctive normal form of, that is PCNF of this expression is asked. But PCNF and PDNF are not mentioned in the syllabus explicitly, so chances are there to get full marks. But if you just have written the numbers like 1A, 6B like that, if you have written, then definitely you will not be given any marks. Okay, just for writing the numbers, please remember you won't get any marks for that, just for writing the numbers. So had you formed the truth table at least, then there is a chance of getting full marks. Okay. So anyway, I'll write the answer for you by forming the truth table. So this is the truth table, and how to write that PCNF. From here you consider all the F terms. If it is PDNF, you have to consider T terms. If it is PCNF, you have to consider F terms. Okay. And for this F, for all the F, so how many terms will be there in this PCNF? Anyway, I'll upload one separate class for PCNF and PDNF. You can understand this. Now you can verify the answer. Even if you have formed the truth table, definitely you will be, there is a chance of getting full marks. Okay. And depending on the people who are evaluating and the instructions given by the university, decision will be taken, okay, by the university. So now if you consider F, I'll tell you the procedure how to write this. So consider all the F terms. So there are 6 terms, 6 F terms are there, 6 F rows are there. So 6 terms will be there in that. How to write that? First F, if you consider TTF. So if you have F, consider the variable as it is. If you have T, then you have to take the negation. So what will be the first term? Negation TTF, right? So negation of P, or, and this is PCNF means conjunctive normal forms. That means sum of product of sums. Okay, so inside the brackets you will have sums, and outside the brackets you will have and product, right? So not P or not Q or R. That will be the first term. That will be the first term. And what will be the second term? Second F is for TFT. TFT. TFT means what? For first term T. T means not P. F, that is RQ, or third term is not R. Okay. And what will be the third term? Third F is for TFF. TFF means not P, RQ or R. And next term will be fourth term. Fourth F is for FTT. That is like this you have to consider. Okay, you have to consider, like first I have considered, no? So like this you have to consider all the F. Now fourth F is FTT. FTT means P or not Q or not R. And fifth F is FTF, right? FTF means not P, sorry, F or F you have to write the variable as it is. So F, P or not Q or R. FTF, right? Next is FFT. FFT means P or Q or not R. So this is the required PCNF. Which is the required PCNF. Okay, so here you have to consider all the F terms, and for each F term you consider PQR statements. Now TTF means if you have F, write the variable as it is. If you have T, you take the negation and write. So there are 6 terms in PCNF. Okay, so next is, what do you mean by a well-formed formula? Explain about tautology with example. This is 1B. And well-formed formula means any expression that obey the syntactic rules of propositional logic is called a well-formed formula. Or you can say a finite sequence of symbols and connectives, you can say symbols, connectives, etc. Okay, symbols and connectives, you can see. Now, what is that? How will you form the well-formed formula? Actually, we have some axioms. Axioms say that first any atomic variable, suppose if you consider A, variable A alone, B alone, they are well-formed formulas. WFF means well-formed formula. Okay, so any atomic variable standing alone, they are well-formed formulas. Now, from this you can form, if you consider not A, yeah, it is a well-formed formula. A and B, it is a well-formed formula. A or B, it is a well-formed formula. A conditional B and A biconditional B, they are all well-formed formulas if A and B are well-formed formulas. Okay, so this is what is hard. What do you mean by well-formed formula? And another important point, if you have, even they can have parentheses also, connectives and parentheses. Okay, so if you have, suppose if you, example I'll give you, suppose if you have P, R, Q and R, it is a well-formed formula. You can have not P and not Q. Yeah, it is a well-formed formula. Now, if you write like this, P, R, Q, and if you write like this, it is not a well-formed formula, because after and this is a, this must have two expressions, no, two variables both before and after, right? So it is not a unary operator, it is a binary operator. Binary operator means before and after you must have variables, right? So this is not a well-formed formula. Okay, and if even if you start parenthesis P, R, Q conditional, if you start another, now if you leave like this, I mean two parentheses, you have opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis, we have only one, right? So even this is not a well-formed formula. These are all examples. Okay, next is tautology, a compound proposition that is always, this is the definition, no matter what the truth values of the proposition, it is not preposition, it is prepositions, variables that occur in it is called a tautology, right? So example, they asked you to explain with examples, right? So here you can consider P and not P. If you consider P, P and P or not P is a tautology. How? You can give this, P is TF and not P is F and T. So what is P or not P? T and T, right? So it is a tautology. This is a tautology, right? Similarly, Q and Q or not Q is a tautology. You can consider P or not P and Q or not Q. Both are tautologies. Therefore, this is also a tautology. So these are all examples you can give. Right? So next is 2a. Consider the following relation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and R of I comma j is defined as I minus j. That is the difference between, not difference between I minus j only. It is not j minus I, right? So j minus I you are not supposed to consider. Only I minus j. If you consider I comma j, I minus j should be 2. So it is not the difference between j and I or I and j, I minus j. Please remember that order is important. I minus j is equal to 2. Now you will find all the elements of this. Is R transitive, is R reflexive, is R symmetric. First let us form the variables. Now let us consider this is a set on A. Let A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Now R is a relation on A. R is a relation defined on A. You can see this is a relation defined on A. Right? So now let us consider R is equal to, let us find out all the elements. Can you write 1 minus 2? No. 1 minus 3, 1 minus 4, 2 minus 3, 2 minus 4, nothing. 3 minus. So you have to come by this way only. So 3 minus 1 will be the first element in this, right? 3 minus 1. 2 minus 1 also you cannot consider because the difference is 1. So 3 minus 1 you can say. Next will be 4 minus 2. Yeah, 4 minus 2 is 2. So 4 comma 2 will be there. Okay. Then 5 comma 3. Then 6 comma 4. Right? Only these are the 4 elements you can have. Right? Anything else is left out? No. 4, 5, 4, 5, 3, 6, 4. Yes. These are the 4 elements. Now is R transitive? Suppose if you consider, always remember, if it is true you can show all the elements, and if it is not true, give one counter example for which it is not true. So consider 5 comma 3 and 3 comma 1, they are in R, but 5 comma 1 is not in R. A comma B, what is the transitivity condition? A comma B and B comma C are in R, then A comma C should be in R. Then it is transitive, right? If it satisfies this, then it is transitive. R is transitive. This is the condition we say. Therefore here 5 comma 3, 3 comma 1 belong to R, and 5 comma 1 does not belong to R. Therefore R is not transitive. R is not transitive. Here none of the element is related to itself, therefore it is not reflexive, right? Second condition, reflexive. Reflexive means what? For all A comma, this is 1 is over. Yes, it is not transitive, okay? Next condition, reflexive. So reflexive condition is, and you have to write the conditions actually. For all A comma A in A comma A should be in R, right? Here in R they are not there. A comma A does not belong to R for any A. For any A in capital A. Therefore R is not reflexive. And what is the third condition? Symmetric. Is it symmetric? That is the question, right? So if it is symmetric, what is the condition? If A comma B is in R, then B comma A should be there in R for any A comma B in capital A, right? Now here 3 comma 1 is there. 1 comma 3 is not there. 4 comma, for all the values, 4 comma 2 is there, 2 comma 4 is not there. Therefore, example, for example, here it is not satisfying, or it is not satisfied by the relation. Not satisfied by the relation. Example, for example, you can say 3 comma 1 it belongs to R, but 1 comma 3 does not belong to R. Therefore R is not symmetric. Right? Therefore next is 2b. If R and S are each question carries 5 marks here. 2a, 2b, 2c are there. So if R and S are equivalent relations on a set A, prove that R intersection S is an equivalent relation. So we have to satisfy 3 conditions. Equivalence relation means what? First it should be reflexive. To prove that, you can write like this. To prove that R is reflexive, symmetric and transitive. Not R intersection is symmetric and transitive. Right? So first condition, if R and S are given, or we should know when will you say that R intersection S. I'll give you that definition first. If R and S are two relations, two equivalence relations. First let us find out two relations. R intersection means what? Okay, two relations on a set A. Then the intersection of R and S denoted by R intersection S is defined by, this is the definition, defined by A R intersection S B is equal to A is related to B, and that is A is related to B by the relation R, and A must be related to B by the relation S also. If both are satisfied, then we say that it is related. They are related by the relation R intersection S also. This AND condition must be satisfied. Okay. So first let us see reflexive. We are going to prove that R intersection S is reflexive, symmetric and transitive. Okay. So first reflexive. Consider A belongs to A. Consider any element A belongs to A. What do you know? R is given. R is symmetric. Given. R and S are equivalence relations. So they are reflexive. R and S are reflexive because they are equivalence relations. Okay. So now that means what? You know that therefore A is related to A by R by the relation R, and A is related to A by the relation S also. Because R and S are reflexive. Therefore what can you say? If both are true, if these two are true, what can you say? This implies A is related to B using the relation, by the relation R intersection S also. That is A comma A belongs to R intersection S. Therefore R intersection S is reflexive. Okay. Next is symmetric. Next you have to prove that R intersection S is symmetric. For that condition, we know that given R and S are symmetric because they are equivalence relations. Symmetric. Let A comma B belongs to R intersection S. Now we have to prove that B comma A also belongs to R intersection S. Okay. To prove that B comma A belongs to R intersection. This is what is the definition of symmetric, right? So if you consider A comma B in R intersection S, very simple only, implies A comma B is in R and A comma B is in S also, right? It is available in S. Intersection means what? It is there in both the sets, right? So this implies A is related to B by R. Or directly you can say this, if this is there, we know R and S are symmetric. Therefore B comma A, this implies B comma A is in R and B comma A is in S also, since R and S are symmetric. Okay. So this implies what? Similarly, B comma A is in R, and this implies what? B comma A is in R intersection S, because B comma A is in R and B comma A is in S also. This implies B comma A is in R intersection S. So we started with A comma B, and we have got that B comma A is also in R intersection S. This therefore R intersection S is symmetric. Right? Now we have to prove transitivity. So for transitivity also, let x comma y belongs to R intersection S, and y comma z belongs to R intersection S. R intersection S means what? That implies x comma y belongs to R, and x comma y belongs to S, and y comma z, we'll write like this so that it will be easy for us. X comma y belongs to R, and y comma z belongs to R. That is, from here x comma y belongs to R, and x comma y belongs to S. Similarly, y comma z also you can. So y comma z belongs to R. Now similarly for this also, right? So now y comma z belongs to R also, and x comma y belongs to S, and y comma z belongs to S. So what can you say now with these two? This implies, we know R is transitive, and x comma y and y comma z are in R. Therefore x comma z is in R, and using these two. Similarly, using these two, you can say x comma z belongs to S, because R is transitive, S is also transitive. Therefore implies x comma z belongs to R intersection S. So we have taken two elements, x comma y and y comma z, in R intersection S, and we have arrived at x comma z is in R intersection S. Therefore R intersection S is transitive. Hence we have proved that R intersection S is reflexive, symmetric and transitive. Hence R intersection S is an equivalence relation. Okay, that's what we wanted to prove. Now define Poset and Hasse diagram. Here already I have given these definitions. I have explained in the classes also. Partial order relation, you can just go through the definitions. These are the definitions. Even for Hasse diagram also, and partial ordered set. Actually this is the relation which satisfies these three conditions. These are the conditions, similar conditions, okay. And here together with any set together with a partial order relation defined on that set is called Poset or partially ordered set. Example also you can go through. And Hasse diagram also, these are the conditions already I have explained. If you want, you can go through the classes, okay. These are the definitions you have to write, and how we are writing that, how we are removing the loops, all those things are available in, there is a separate class for Hasse diagram also. And here in using strong induction also, I will give you the link. Already I have proved this. Use strong induction to prove every positive integer greater than 1 can be written uniquely as a prime or as a product of two or more primes, where the prime factors are written in order of non-decreasing size. Okay, this already I have done this question, and I'll give you the link in the description box. Okay, please go through that. And here you have to make a small adjustment, that is n less than or equal to 1 less than or equal to. Here there you used to consider a comma b belongs to n, k up to k minus 1 it is true, right? So here when you are considering A and B, only this is to be changed. Okay, K minus 1, A comma B, which is less than or equal to K. When you are considering A and B, there in the induction step, we have written A for any A comma B. Here only the condition is with the condition A less than or equal to B, because they are in non-decreasing order. So you have to consider A less than or equal to B. Okay. So next is obtain the recurrence relation for Tower of Hanoi problem and find its complexity. Even this Tower of Hanoi problem and the recurrence relations, this also I have explained enough number of times. What are the methods of recurrence relations, all those things. Even I'll give you the description, in the description box I'll give you the links for these two classes also. Please go through. Okay. So links will be given. Okay. So give an example of a graph which is Hamiltonian but not Eulerian. I'll give you one graph. What do you mean by Hamiltonian and Eulerian graph? You must have Euler circuit and Hamilton circuit. If you have circuit, not only path. Path means you have to start from one vertex and you can end with another vertex. But circuit means wherever you are starting, you must come to that point. Okay. So I'll give you one graph which is Hamiltonian but not Eulerian. I'll explain that. Wait. So this is the graph I am going to consider. A, B, C, D, E. Okay, is it Hamiltonian? Hamiltonian means what? You have to visit all the vertices and circuit. You must be able to find out a Hamiltonian circuit, right? So if you start with A, then visit B, C, D, E, A. It is a Hamiltonian cycle. It is a Hamilton cycle, you can say, or circuit or cycle. Okay, Hamilton cycle. Therefore, it is Hamiltonian. Let us give some name G. Therefore, G is Hamiltonian. Okay, let us consider Eulerian. Let us give the names. This as 1. Edges. I am starting from AB to, this is 1, 2, then this edge. Eulerian means what? You have to visit all the edges without repetition. Okay. 3, 4, then 5, or you can, 5, then you can come with this 6, then 7, this is 8. If you come back to E, then you cannot come back to A because I cannot use the other edge, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the order. That means if you visit like this, AB, then BC, then CD, then DE, then EA, then AD, DB, then BE. But you cannot come back to A because the already visited edges are there. No more edge is there. Okay. Therefore, why it is not like that? Therefore, it is not. It is only Eulerian path. Euler path is there, but no Euler circuit. No Euler circuit. Therefore, not Eulerian. Therefore, this graph G is not Eulerian. Got it? It may be the Euler circuit, but you must have, it may be you may have Euler path, but no Euler circuit. Here, why it is like that? By seeing the graph itself, you can find out A is having degree 3, E is also having degree 3. What about the degree of B? 1, 2, 3, 4. What about degree of C? 2. Degree of D? 4. All are even, but only two vertices are of degree 3. Exactly 2 vertices are of degree 3. That is why you are able to find out an Euler path. Okay, starting from AB, that is starting from A and finishing with E. there will be one Euler path. If you have only exactly two vertices of degree 3, degree odd degree actually, degree here it is 3, generally it must be odd, okay. Then you have to start from that odd degree and you can end with that odd degree, okay. So next is 5b, how to determine adjacency matrix of for a graph. Explain properties of adjacency matrix by taking suitable graph with minimum 4 nodes and 6 edges. So adjacency matrix, you know, by definition Aij is equal to 1, okay, is equal to 1 if I and the nodes I and j are adjacent, and 0 if I and j are not adjacent. Okay. So I'll consider this graph. A, B, C, D and E. How will you write this? Now you are asked to find out minimum 4 nodes and 6 edges. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edges are there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Only 5 edges are there. No? Okay, we'll join one more edge. No problem. So if I give 1, 2, this is 1, 2, wait. If I don't add, what will happen? 1, 2, then 3, A, B, D, 3, 4, C, A, C, B, 4, and this is 5, right? This is already marked, so this is 5 marked. Okay, so one more edge I have to add, 6 edges. Okay, for this let us find out the adjacency matrix. So first I have to write how many vertices are there? 5 vertices are there. So A, B, C, D, E. Here A, B, C, D, E. Okay. So A and A, there is no loop, so 0. And B, A and B, are they adjacent? No, 0. That means BA also will not be adjacent. So BA also 0. What about AC? Yes, they are adjacent. Adjacent means 1. That means CA also will be 1. Okay. AC means what? Here it is not a directed graph. So nothing they are not mentioned for directed or undirected. So let us explain for undirected. And AD, when we are writing the properties, we have to write. It will vary for directed. Okay. What about AD? Yeah, there is a line. There is an edge. So DA also 1. And what about AE? 0. EA also 0. Right? What about B comma B? There is no edge. So B to B, no edge. No loop, therefore it is 0. What about BC? No, 0. That means CB also 0. What about BD? Yes, 1. Therefore DB is 1. BE? BE 1. So EB also is 1. Okay. Now C to C, there is no edge, no loop. So C to C, no 0. C to D. C to D, 0. So D to D, C also 0. And C to E. C to E, yes, 1. E to C also 1. What about D to D? 0. D to E, yes, there is an edge. So 1, 1. E to E, there is no edge. So it is 0. So this is the adjacency matrix. What do you observe? Did you observe when I am writing A comma B 0, I have written B comma A also 0. When I am filling this one, I have filled this also. How? Because it is a non-directed graph, undirected graph. Since it is an undirected graph, it will be symmetric. So the matrix, adjacency matrix will be symmetric. Okay. So here adjacent, the properties will be the adjacency matrix is symmetric for undirected graph. for undirected graph. Okay. And if you, another thing, if you can find out from here, A means in the row of A, if you count 1, 2, so it will be the degree of A, or either here, or you can see in the column of A. Okay, if you want to find out degree of any vertex, okay, is the number of ones, this is another property, number of ones in ith row and ith column. Ith row and ith column. Got it? This is another property you can see. Right? But it need not be for directed graph, definitely it will not be symmetric. Right? So next is 6A. 5B is over. No, next is 6A. 6A is very simple. P conditional Q. Consider the left hand side. We are going to prove logically without using truth table. Okay, P conditional Q, P conditional R. Right? So this is equivalent to, I asked you to remember always, so P conditional Q is equivalent to, P conditional Q is equivalent to not P or Q. Right? So whenever you want to remove this conditional, you have to remember this, not P or Q. So not P or Q and not P or R. Not P or Q and not P or R. This is what I have removed, just removed this conditional. And we have studied so many laws. What is distributive law? If you write P, R, Q and, P, R, Q and R implies P, R, Q and P, R, right? So now I have, in the place of P, I have not P, and here, everything, all the others are same, right? In the place of P, I have not P. The right hand side of distributive law. Now can I use from this, both are equivalent, right? So if this LHS is given, RHS you can write. Now RHS is given, you can use this. That means not P. In the place of P, I have not P. Because not P is common. So not P, R, Q and R. After writing this, if you want, you can verify. Not P or Q and not whatever is there in the middle, this will come in the middle. I have told you already to remember. There are two different connectives, so you can use distributive law. Okay. So this is from the reverse side and we are coming from distributive law. This is by distributive law. Here again you can write in this using P conditional Q is equivalent to not P or Q. Okay. And what about this not P or Q? Again, P or Q we have removed by not P or Q. No? Now not P or in the place of Q I have Q and R. So I can write this as P conditional Q and R. This is what we want to prove. We have started with the left hand side and we have proved that it is equivalent to right hand. Similarly, if you go back, if you go in the reverse direction, you can prove. That is why we have written if and only if. Okay, that is equivalent to. Now for 6b, I think distinct normal forms I have told you already. I will upload the another class in detail. What is distinct normal form, DNF, PDNF and CNF, PCNF, all those things I will upload later. In that I will do without using truth table also. Okay. So here for 6b, if you have formed the truth table, I think they will give you the answer. Okay. Otherwise the method is you have to PCNF, PDNF, you have to form the truth table. Otherwise, just by expanding, keep on applying the rules like distributive law, associative law, definitely you will be able to arrive at the distinct normal form. Okay. And PCNF means, PDNF, PCNF means it must contain all the variables. Here it is not required. You can leave one or two variables. That is DNF. Okay. Now compute the number of rows. 7th A, number of rows of 6 Americans, 7 Mexicans and 10 Canadians, in which an American invariably stands between the Mexican and Canadian, and these are the conditions. in which a Mexican and a Canadian never stand side by side. Okay. So first one is 6 Americans, 7 Mexicans and 10 Canadians. This is what? They can be arranged in. They can be arranged in how many ways? 6 factorial into 7 factorial into 10 factorial base, right? They can be arranged in a row. In how many ways? 6 factorial, 7 factorial, 10 factorial base, okay? And the position of American is fixed, right? And Mexican and Canadian never stand side by side. So the number of arrangements using the after the conditions. So the number of arrangements including Mexican and excluding Canadian is 6C2 into 9C3. This is one condition, and one more condition is there, no? Also similarly, the number of arrangements including Canadian and excluding Mexican is 6C3 into 9C2, right? Hence the required answer is, with these conditions, required answer is 6 factorial into 7 factorial into 10 factorial into 6C2 into 9C3 plus 6C3 into 9C2. You can simplify if you want, okay, using the calculator. Next is 7B. Solve the recurrence relation AN plus 4AN minus 1 plus 4AN minus 2 is equal to 8 with the condition for n greater than or equal to 2 and where A0 is equal to 1 and A1 is equal to 2, right? The characteristic equation is, now this is of order how much? 2, n and n minus 2. So the characteristic equation is r squared plus 4r plus 4 is equal to 0, right? Which implies r is equal to minus 2 comma minus 2. Therefore an, now you have, this is a, here right hand side it is not 0, therefore it is a non-homogeneous equation. So the solution will have two parts, an is equal to an homogeneous equation and an particular solution, right? Homogeneous solution and particular solution. So first homogeneous solution you can write C1 into C1 plus, now you have repeated roots, minus 2. So C1 plus C2n into minus 2 per n. Let this be equation number 1. Now right hand side is a constant 8. So you can assume let an, the particular solution, be an is equal to, now you have k per n, you can say either you can consider it as 2 cube, if you want you can write it as 2 cube, but 2 is not a root, 8 is also not a root, right? So 2 is not a root, now you have minus 2 is the root, so 2 is not a root. Not a root means what? You have to consider a into, if it is a root of multiplicity m, then you have to multiply n per m. Now it is not a root, so a into 8. It is the solution. A into, either you can write it as 2 cube if you want, or you can write A into 8 be the particular solution. You can consider n power 0 or k power 1, k power 3, 2 power 3, like that. Anything is okay. Okay. So it is 8a, right? So there is no n in the right hand side. Just substitute. Let us take the first equation. This is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2. So substituting in the given equation, or in 1 we mean it is the given equation. Okay. So substituting in 1 we get 8a plus 4 into an minus 1 also 8a only, plus 4 into again an minus 2 is also 8a is equal to 8. So 8 will get cancelled throughout all the terms. You have 8. So what is remaining? 9a is equal to 1, implies a is equal to 1 by 9. A is equal to 1 by 9. A is equal to 1 by 9 means what? If you substitute in this is our solution, right? So 1 by 9 into 8. So it is 8 by 9. A and P is equal to 8 by 9 is the particular solution, right? Therefore, the complete solution is what? Both. Therefore, the complete solution is AN is equal to AN H plus AN P, right? What is AN H? C1 plus C2N into minus 2 the whole power n plus 8 by 9 is our 8 by 9 only, no? 8 by 9. Okay, now we have written this is equation number 3. Now this is our solution. Depending on the values given, initial values given, we have to consider that. A0 is 1, A1 is equal to 2. So A0 is 1, A0 is equal to 1 implies wherever n is equal, n you have to substitute 0. So C1 plus C2n, C2 is 0, so I am not going to write that, okay. And minus 2 the whole power 0, it is also 1. So C1 plus 8 by 9 is equal to 1. Implies C1 is equal to 1 minus 8 by 9, that is 1 by 9. C1 is 1 by 9. So C1 is 1 by 9. This is one value. Okay. And now consider the second value. A1 is equal to, A1 is 2, right? So A1 is equal to 2. Implies C1 plus, wherever in the right hand side you have n is equal to 1, right? So you have to just substitute wherever you have n, replace it by 1. So C1 plus C2 into 1 into minus 2 the whole power 1 plus 8 by 9 is equal to, right hand side it is 2, right? So minus 2 C1. C1 is what? 1 by 9. Minus 2 by 9. Then plus minus 2 into C1 1 by 9, yeah. C2 is equal to, C2 you write as it is, C2 minus 2 C2 plus 8 by 9 is equal to 2, right? So minus 2 C2 plus here you have 8 by 9 minus 2 by 9. So plus 6 by 9 is equal to 2. Implies minus 2 C2 is equal to 2 minus 6 by 9, right? 2 minus 6 by 9 means 12 by 9. 2 9s are 18 minus 6, so 12 by 9. So this is our C2. Wait. C2 minus 2 C2 implies C2 is equal to minus 12 by, here 2 and 12 will get cancelled, you will be getting 6. That means 2 by 3. 2 by 3. So C2 is equal to minus 2 by 3. Okay. Substituting in this equation, substituting, therefore 3 becomes, that is our solution. Therefore 3 becomes an is equal to, C1 is what? 1 by 9. So 1 by 9 minus 2 by 3n into minus 2 the whole power n plus 8 by 9. Okay. This is the solution for this recurrence relation an. Next is explain breadth first search algorithm with example following graph 1. Actually here they have mentioned this as graph 1. Okay. This is our graph 1. So breadth first search algorithm is applicable for finding a spanning tree from this graph. Okay. So for this, if you apply the BFS, that means first you consider 1 and the answer will be a spanning tree from this graph. Okay. Tree means what? It will not have cycles, right? And you will have one root also. Let us start with root as 1. Okay. And keep on adding the edges incident with these vertices, and if it forms a circuit, don't consider that, otherwise you keep on adding. For this one it is 2 and here it is 3. Yeah, you have to add both vertices 2 and 3. They are not forming. Okay, that is for with 1 there are 2 edges incident with 1, so consider them. If it forms the circuit, please don't add, otherwise you keep on adding, right? This and here root is at level 0. Always root will be at level 0 only, that will consider the root as at level 0. And here whatever edges you are writing, with whatever vertices you are writing, these vertices are in level 1. Okay. And next level with 2, what are all the vertices adjacent to this 2? This 4 comma 5. Yes, I can write 4, I can include 5 also. Okay. I can include both 4 and 5 with this. Yes. What about from 3? From 3, yeah, I can include 6 and 7. Right? So this is at level 1. These are at level 1. Sorry, level 2. Sorry. Level 2. 4, 5, 6 are at level 2. Now, next is you can either consider this as 8. And with 5, 8, no, not required. With 6, you will not required. Otherwise, instead of this, you can write like this also. From 5 also. From any one of the vertices, you can join 8. Okay. And this is at level 3. Now, have you formed the tree? How many vertices are there? What is the property of a tree? How many vertices are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices are there. How many edges should be there then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. N minus 1 edges. Number of vertices is 8. So 8 minus 1, 7 edges should be there, so that we will get a tree. And all these things you have to write in words. You consider 1 as a rooted root. Okay. What are all the edges? 1, 2 and 1, 3 are the edges incident with 1. Okay. And it is not form a circuit, so we will join these edges. So 2, 3. They are adjacent, and from 2 they are at level 1, 2 comma 3 are level at level 1. Then keep on adding. So you have to write them in English. Okay, on your own sentence you would have written that. You have to write like that. Similarly, now next 8b, last question. Define a spanning tree. Apply Kruskal's algorithm to find the minimum spanning tree on the following weighted graph 2. And this was given. This was mentioned as graph 2. So I have written what is the first step. You have to write arrange all the vertices in the ascending order. Okay. So the least one, minimum to maximum. So minimum is 10. That is what the name is. 1 comma 6 I have written. So that from the name itself we can write. So 1, 6, etc. So what you have to do is you have to write this 1, 2, write the vertices, then keep on adding, right? So first let us write 1, then 2, don't add the edge. We'll just write the vertices. 2, then 3 here, then 4, 5, then 6, in between 7, right? So 7 vertices are there. 7 vertices are there means what? How many edges should be there? 6 edges should be there. So 1 comma 6, yes, we can add 1 comma 6. This is the minimum vertex, minimum weight. So 1 comma 6 should be added. Now what about the second one? Yeah, it is added. When it is added, put a tick. Otherwise, into. Okay. So 3 comma 4. Yes, 3 comma 4 can we add? Yes, 3 comma 4. Weight is 12. Please write the weight also so that it will be easy for calculation. Finding the minimum. So 12 it is added. Yes. What about 2 comma 7? 2 comma 7. What is the weight? 14. 2 comma 7. Yes. Here. Weight is 14. Yeah. If it forms a cycle, don't add. Okay. Then 14 is added. What about 2 comma 3? 2 comma 3. Yes, we can add. 2 comma 3 we can add. What is the weight? For 2 comma 3 it is 16. Okay. Then what about 2 comma 3 we have added, put a tick. Then 4 comma 7. 4 comma 7 can you add? If you add like this, what will happen? It forms a circuit. So don't add. 4 comma 7 don't add. Put an into mark in that. 4 comma 5 22. 4 comma 5 yes we can add. It is not forming a cycle, so you can add 22. Right. Then next is 4 comma 5 is added. Next 5 comma 7 24. 5 comma 7 24 can you add? If I add, it forms a circuit, right? So don't add. 5 comma 7 don't add. What about 5 comma 6? Yes, we have to. 5 comma 6 the weight is 25, right? Weight is 25. So you have to add. What about 1 comma 2 now? 1 comma 2 if you add like this, it will form a circuit. So don't add. Okay, 1 comma 2 should not be added. How many edges we have added? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 edges, 7 vertices are there. 6 edges we have added, so done. Okay. Therefore, the minimum weight is equal to, this is the spanning tree, which is the spanning tree you can see. Which is the minimum spanning tree. Minimum spanning tree. What is the minimum weight now? Minimum weight is equal to, I had 10, 14, 16, 12, then 22 plus 25, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yes. Which is equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, 52, 62, 72, 74, 74, then 94, 99. 99 is the minimum weight, Okay, that is the answer. So with this, all the questions are done. Hope all of you would have written well. Okay, and comment your suggestions. Means whatever your doubts, if you get any doubts, please post it. I'll answer. And all the best for your results and all the best for your remaining exams. And thank you for listening to the class.